Hi, my name is Terry Lynch. I'm the CEO of Power Nickel. Power Nickel is advancing the polymetallic discovery NISK in James Bay, Quebec.
Good to see you, Terry.
Great to see you, Matthew.
Well, it's nice to be here in this beautiful backdrop.
We were freezing our butt off the last time it's ever cold in Quebec. It was cold.
It's been nothing. But here we are. And he told me how many meetings you had gone.
53.
That's insane.
53, yeah. Crazy, yeah.
And that's not all of them.
No, we got morning meetings and dinner meetings and interviews, and we're flat out here at the moment.
So needless to say, you're one of the stories that people are most interested in at this venue. You've raised some money recently from what you call the All-Stars. So it's not like you're here for the money. You're here to tell the story, it sounds like.
Right. Yeah. No, we're fortunate in that we raised $20 million from Robert Friedland, Rob McEwen, and two very qualified mining funds. Mm-hmm. And so what one would say was smart money, I guess.
Yeah.
And great guys, and obviously value add in terms of giving you insight and perspective. So you get money, but also insight from the guys that have done it before, so that's super, super attractive. So when we come here today, we're not looking for cash. We just think our stock is massively undervalued. Everyone will say this, but I think if we can say that with where we've got evidence that that's the case, and we're not looking for money. So usually there's a financial overhang and that's why your stock's low, because they know you're going to need to come to the market. That's not the case with us. We're good for money for the next 18 months, so there's no financial overhang. So there should be a cleanup of this market.
Well, I think the interesting thing here is there's lots to talk about, and I do want to talk about the kind of polymetallic makeup and structure that you're looking at here. But the thing to focus in on is that you found it relatively easy last few rounds to raise capital from the right sorts of people. You are famous for your anti-shorting campaigns, naked or otherwise.
Yeah,
the shorting, that is. And you've the only way to kind of break that seems to be attracting the right sorts of people onto the register, but that being institutional. So you're kind of at that. You're finding yourself at that phase where you've got institutional interest in what you're doing, which may break any of that kind of shorting stuff. How do you go about sort of navigating your way around, creating the best share register for yourself to kind of get past that?
It's honestly been blocking and tackling. It's one by one. I think we've got, at last count, 11 billionaires in the deal, and we got each one of them through like a personal introduction, from some trusted source. And you meet them and you give them your pitch, and they sort of say, well, do I believe this guy? Do I like the pitch? And then typically they tiptoe in, and then you got to continue to execute. And if you execute, then these guys have got obviously tons of money. The good thing about that is I would say they're patient capital. They're not coming in to trade you for 10 or 15%, which happens a lot in this market. And we've tried to avoid those Momo guys because you can't build a company like that. You need to have stable investors that will back you.
Yeah.
And like Rob McEwen's a classic example. He came in for the first time last December, for a $500,000 investment, and we executed with that. And in June he came in with triple that amount pretty much. And that's the type of guy you want, because he's not going to trade you for a nickel. He's there for the vision. As long as you're executing the vision, he's going to be there. And that's how you build companies and create projects.
Yeah.
So that's especially in this marketplace, right?
Right, but there's also that kind of need to kind of mop up. If there's a shorting, you kind of want a group or groups to be able to kind of mop it up and have the same vision that you do,
100%.
right?
And that's we've been able to come into the market, and we've had these guys come in, and we've had 1 million share bids go up, and that just cleans out a whole lot of people. And then it's like all of a sudden the algos and the shorts, they go, what the hell's going on? Is there something we don't know? Is there some takeover, whatever? They back off, and then all of a sudden the stock surges like it ordinarily would if these mothers weren't there. Pardon my Spanglish.
Don't worry, I'm with you. So it's interesting times for sure, right? And maybe that's a conversation for another day, but I think it's something that CEOs have to consider. When they reach a certain size, it's of interest to algos and others, these market maker type groups, who perhaps doing a bit more damage, but not just in the short term, but also in the long term for the industry and the sectors. Okay, so that's got to be sorted. We'll come back to that. In the meantime, you forge ahead with what you can control, and that is finding high grade copper, nickel, gold,
Yeah.
silver, keep going, right?
Yeah,
It's
100%.
incredible what's happening.
Yeah. We've been super fortunate. I mean, I was out, I was doing, I don't know, the driving with cars thing. He's got a Carl Boyd, nice guy. Yeah. And I was saying to Carl that, at the end of the day, in every good mining story, it's always a drill bit story. You eventually got to have a great resource, and that is ultimately what wins it for you. You may have some brief periods of time where you can bluff your way through and get some money, but at the end of the day, you'll be found out by your drill bit.
Yeah.
And so we've been blessed, thanks God, really. We had the nice nickel sulfide project, which we started off talking to you about some years back.
Yeah.
And we still believe in that. That's always been part of it. And in searching to grow that from 7-8 million tons of 1.13% to 30 million tons, we went looking for more of that, and we found this giant polymetallic discovery where, like, we've reeled off 29 holes. 25 of the 29 have hit. At least half of them have been seriously great hits, like almost 10 meters, 10% copper equivalent. So unprecedented stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what's transformed the face of the company and brought us the premium investors like Robert Friedland and Rob McEwen and these other guys, because these are guys that have seen many discoveries and understand how to interpret them. And there's no guarantee, even where we're at, that we're still going to be nirvana, but we're advanced enough now. I can say that we're really in a really great asymmetric position. So there's not a lot of risk here. There's a lot of upside here.
There's a lot of upside, right? So I think one of the other things that does help and shouldn't be discounted is the access to capital, right? A lot of cash-strapped companies who think they've got some good stuff, which if they could drill,
maybe they have.
Right?
Yeah.
But they'll never know, right? Until the market comes back and they can afford the capital that's on offer. You have. So what are you doing in terms of that drilling? So we've kind of got this polymetallic. Tell me about the kind of ore body and ore structure.
The first project in NISK Maine was a nickel standard sort of nickel sulfide, 1% nickel, 0.5% copper, some PGMs, 1 gram PGMs. We went out 5.5 kilometers to the northeast and found this lion zone. And right now, the lion zone is, we announced this morning, it increased by 50%. Its depth is about 450 meters, width of about 350. The core of that is probably about 150 meters, and by 450. And within that core, it can be super high grade, like the 10% stuff. And then there's a halo on the other side. And the thickness of it is, in the core, it's sort of 5 to 10 meters. And on the halo, it's probably 1 to 5 meters. Mm-hmm. So we're the trick in polymetallics. I didn't even know what polymetallic meant until I found one, to be honest with you. I mean, I've heard of it, but generally didn't know. And what is polymetallic? It just means multiple minerals where the dominant mineral, in our case, nickel, is not the dominant from a revenue perspective. In other words, you're not looking for credits. Yeah. In our case, nickel might generate 33% of the revenue, and copper will be 33%, and the noble metals, the gold, silver, and platinum, palladium, will be a third. So when we made the discovery at Lion, we figured out, well, we got something different here, and we knew we had a bit of a polymetallic, and we actually, my son watched this video of Dr. Steve Beresford, who's now on our board, but he's arguably, if he's not the top polymetallic scientist in the world, he's certainly in that discussion, because he was chief geologist at First Quantum, and then at MMG, and then IGO, and major successes there. And he's been in the business for like 40 years. He spent several $100 million exploring for these all over the world. So, the polymetallics are super rare. They're the most valuable mines in the world. Norilsk is literally the only $1 trillion deposit ever discovered by humans. And so when I was going through, what we had with Dr. Beresford, when I reached out and contacted him and was eventually able to get him on the phone, I was explaining, I said, well, it's not like Voisey Bay because we got some precious metals, and it's not like this gold deposit because we got the base metals. He says, no. He said, I get what it's like. I said, well, what's it like? He says, it's like Norilsk. And I'm like, damn, I wish I had that on tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, subsequently we did get at that on tape. Yeah. But he said, look, I'm not saying you're going to be the next Norilsk, but he said people misunderstood polymetallics. And he said, if you were to find the next Norilsk, it would look like this. You would find a nickel project like you found, and then you'll find this lion zone like you found. He says, what happens in the polymetallic world is this nickel sulfide is sort of the oven. It's the feeder system, and it sits underneath there. 500 meters, 1,000 meters from surface, and some geological event caused a hydrothermal action to pick up the copper sulfides, bring them up to the surface, and precipitates, and creates these shoots of really crazy, rich mineralogy, which is what we had at the Lion Zone. And he said, my guess is you've got this copper rich one. He says you're going to find ones that are precious metals rich, ones that are PGE rich, ones that are zinc rich.
Yeah.
And he asked me, well, how many ounces of gold do you think Norilsk has produced? I said, I didn't even know they produced it. He said, 20 million ounces. So he said they produce 15 paying minerals. Mm-hmm. So, when you get one of these projects, it really is transformative. So, when we sort of realized what we had, we thought, obviously we had a great team to get us to the discovery level. And but we thought to push through now and really make something of this, we really need to get the insight of somebody who's done this before, because in this market you can't afford mistakes. You really have to sort of make your money work.
Talk to me about him, right? Because someone like that doesn't. You listed off the kind of blue chip companies there, right? And then Power who? It would have been a bit of that for him, right?
Totally.
Right?
Well, I have to give the guy credit. I literally contacted him through LinkedIn, and I was like, and it's funny because I was always bitter about my LinkedIn bills, only getting contact for some crazy loan deals that we know is BS that just are going to. So, but full credit, I reached out through LinkedIn, and to his credit, he responded back, because he's a hunter. He's at this stage in his life where he doesn't need the money. He's going to take some, of course, because that's business, but he's really passionate about discovery, so that's what's drawn him to Power Nickel. Is I didn't know the guy from Adam. I got him to come over to the site. He came up to the site and met the team, and he found this. I was telling you off camera about this crazy piece of lava. He found the kumatite or something like that. That shouldn't be in North America, but there it was, and they're really associated with generally really big nickel sulfide discoveries. So that's why I think he got excited about what he found, and that's why he joined.
So as a hunter.
He's a
As
hunter.
you describe him, he's like, I don't need this for the money. What I want to do is find the next big thing.
Yeah.
And he's gone, there's enough data here already for me to be interested in that.
100%.
To join the board, right?
Yeah. And he also obviously liked the team in that he felt that we were like actually, solid guys to work with. And as it turned out, I didn't know this, but we use GeoVector. There are boots on the ground there. Probably just maybe, they're one of the top 2 geological consulting firms in the country. And I didn't know this, but the GeoVector leadership is all Western mining trained guys. So he was a Western mining trained guy. So when they hit the ground together, all the data was presented in a Western mining way. So he didn't, like he said, usually it takes me 2 or 3 months to put all the stuff back together the way I want to see it. Do I want to be involved? I have to first get the data right so I can see if there's something there. But in your case, he said it was already right. So
it's kind of cool when you see these sorts of situations where the money's there when you want it. The people who'd want to be involved as well, because they've done it before. It's really hard not to want to kind of rush in and kind of get to the end point as quickly as possible. But so what are the recommendations from McEwen's?
So what was interesting? So while we've been enormously successful and I would say lucky with the Lion's Gold exploration, Steve says, look, because he's done this many times, he's saying eventually the drill bit luck will run out.
Yeah.
Because these projects, the way Mother Earth puts them together is you'll hit like a zone of 50 or 75 meters, that'll be barren.
Yeah.
And you'll try and chase it with a drill bit every which way. Yeah. And he says, you're going to go broke chasing that thing.
Right.
So
okay.
That's good advice. So he says what he's found, the only thing that really is workable in terms of, because this is what will happen, 75 meters down and offset to the left is another 500 meters of the good stuff. Yeah. And that's, you got to find it. Yeah. So he said what works is process. And the process for him is downhole EM is the number one thing. And ground chemistry, downhole chemistry, ground magnetics, and the ambient noise. And so he's, we while this summer we, spent half our money, a drilling program, 4,000 meters on drilling the Lion Zone and expanding it. We spent the other 4,000 meters drilling 4 1,000 meter barren holes to do downhole EM. Well, that's cost us over $1 million. So it's like, Yeah, we raised 20 million, but
the big boy process.
But that's the big boy process.
Yeah.
So so Steve said, so like a program we're doing for him right now, is like a $10 million exploration program that'll end in April 30th next year. And he said, well, what do you think? I said, well, we didn't hire you and bring you on to not listen to you at this stage. We got the money. Yeah. Let's do it. So that's, you no point bringing rock stars and not listening to how they do it. Right. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. So I think we feel really bullish about our approach. And, at the end of the day, the delivery will be there or what, based upon, but we'll have done it in the best possible way to give us our best chance.
So if I look at the roadmap ahead, right? Because some companies like to drill, right? I'm interested in what someone like him thinks is right. This is a big project. If I think Norilsk, I'm thinking, crikey, that is, many years,
50 years of drill,
many dollars to kind of get to that point. But they've got to start from somewhere. Yeah. And these days, people are concerned about, the business models like, is this possible to be a near-term revenue type thing, or do we need to build this out because the sheer volume of the contained metal in the ground needs this to be a bigger project? Does he give you clues as to how you come at a project like this, and what are we buying into as investors?
Yeah, I think what he says, what drives us successful polymetallic development in his mind is these silos, like the lion zones.
Okay,
it is really what pays for it. So he said, look, you're going to have more than one of these, and this thing could be quite big, each one. So he says, we got to find them. That's what pays for you to get down to the nickel sulfide.
Got it.
So he says, we got to spend all of our money finding those things. So
how many?
I mean, that's the part we don't know, right? I mean, but he says, look, they don't come as onesies. Like this shoot that you got didn't just happen. There's probably going to be several of them. And that's what happens in the other polymetallics he's had in Platte Reef and Norilsk and Sakatti and places like that. So to the extent that we can find those, which is what we're using this process for, then I think the market will reward us finding them, and that'll continue to fund us going forward. And obviously, what we're looking to do is to make this a world-class project, right? To have 100 million tons, of ore grade material. That's really what you want to be. Yeah. You want to be Voisey's Bay too. You know what I mean? And I think that potential is there. And I think the cool part, I say to people as I'm pitching, today here, I'm saying, look, I'm confident this thing is so rich, we got enough to be a small mine right now. This thing's going to get mined. Yes. Okay. Now the question is, how big is this going to be? And I think we're playing with house money. We'll see how big it's going to be, but we're fully funded. We got the A team of guys looking for it, and we're getting out of their way and making sure they have the scientific tools they need to be successful. And, we're getting out and telling the story. And I think the market will eventually come to the story and realize, hey, this thing could be really big.
Yeah. Okay. So it says to me, you got the money to carry on the big boy techniques.
Yep.
And template.
Yep.
That is there, for a while longer. And I guess over time you'll assess that data and work out what you do, but you're not necessarily discounting maybe there's a starter project, just get cash flowing, because a lot of companies are doing that at the moment. They're talking that game, because I guess the dollars of contained value per ton must be insane.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're looking at 800,000, 1,500, 2,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, some of that stuff were 25% copper equivalent.
Have you got the team, or have you got the advisors in the shape of either Rob, McEwen, or others say, well, look, here's how you could get after that if we get to that point?
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of I think the next big step there is we'll need to do a resource calculation. That would be the first practical step, and then it'll start to pull together some of the economics, and that'll be good. And we'll start that. We're going to go through until Christmas with the drilling program, and then look to put out a resource update in probably Q1. That would be my thinking.
Okay.
Yeah. On the line zone.
Exciting times.
So it is.
Tell me you finished for the day.
I've got one more meeting, and then a dinner meeting with a really great guy. That's going to be. But he's a fun guy. But
get after it.
Yeah.
So it's killer Friday.
No
morning.
rest for the wicked, right?
I'm sleeping the whole of Friday.
Yeah, the one wise thing we did decide to do is let's fly out on Saturday. Let's not just like, man, you got to be
acclimatize.
Catch a bit of breath. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, Terry, lovely to see you.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
Always good to see you.
Bye.
Cheers.